The meeting is held as a virtual meeting due to the declared emergency. This meeting will be streamed live as well as recorded and published on the Southwest Middlesex YouTube channel. Committee, is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof? Seeing none, we'll scratch off number 2. Additions to agenda, staff, council, are there any? Seeing none, would someone entertain a motion that the regular agenda of the Economic Development Committee dated June 3rd, 2021 be accepted as presented? Thank you very much, Councillor Cal, seconded by Councillor Scholdice. Questions? All in favor, committee? Carried. Stephanie, you got a whole bunch of stuff that you're going to present to us, and thank you again for taking us by the hand on this. Some of this is information that's behind us and information that's coming ahead of us. So I'll hand the chair over to you, Stephanie, and you take the floor.
Sure, thank you. I'm just gonna share my screen, and I have a bit of a presentation prepared for you. All right, so I guess for those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie Poirier. I work for the County of Middlesex, and I provide planning services to Southwest Middlesex. I think I have been there for the past 3 and a bit years. And today I'm going to provide you with an overview at a high level of the planning process, application types, as well as an update on the level of planning activity in Southwest Middlesex. So the role of land use planning, good planning leads to orderly growth, the efficient provisions of services, and desirable change, generally leading to better places to live. And there is a need to balance the interests of individuals and the wider objectives of the community on a long-term scale, which of course ties into the council's vision for the official plan, as well as the immediate need. And another aspect of planning is to avoid or at least minimize land use conflicts through, again, any mitigation measures possible. And good use planning also supports economic development. So now I'm just going to discuss a little bit about the planning framework. So on your screen before you, you see an arrow which starts with the planning, I guess a hierarchy of documents, which starts with the provincial level documents on the left-hand side, followed by the county official plan, and then the Southwest Middlesex local documents being the official plan and our zoning bylaw. So generally, if a land use inquiry does not conform with the policy documents, then an applicant is looking for a Planning Act application, such as a minor variance or a zoning bylaw amendment. And then generally after planning conformity, the applicants or the members of the public are able to obtain building permits. But it is quite common through the building permit process for our building department to identify the need for a Planning Act application through that process. So sometimes, even though the building permits generally come last, that is often the starting point. And then it goes back to the left-hand side in terms of process. So I am just now going to deep dive a little bit further into each one of those planning documents and a bit again into our applications, the different types of applications. So in terms of the Planning Act, the province sets out detailed and prescriptive statutory and policy requirements for land use planning. Municipalities must operate within the rules established within the Planning Act. And this document also establishes detailed timelines for actions, which includes how many days in advance of a public meeting does the municipality have to circulate notice, and who the notice is circulated to. How many days after the public meeting does the municipality have to send out the notice of council or committee's decision? And how many days does council or committee have to make a decision on planning matters, which all vary depending on the application type. This document also includes appeal opportunities with the local planning appeal tribunal. So the provincial policy statement sets out policy direction on matters of provincial interest related to land use planning and development, the foundation of the policy-led planning system. And when staff are evaluating applications, we must ensure that the application is consistent with the provincial policy statement. So there are many provincial guideline documents that must be considered during the planning process. For example, the guidelines on permitted uses in Ontario's prime agricultural area is intended to help decision makers interpret the provincial policy statement. This document is used quite frequently in our rural Ontario, and it does set out direction on the permitted uses, agriculturally related uses, and on-farm diversified uses. And another example that is frequently used in the rural area is the minimum distance separation guidelines, which is also a provincial document. So the county official plan is a comprehensive planning document used in working towards the long-term vision for Middlesex. The official plan contains policies dealing with issues of provincial and county interest. It recognizes the planning powers and authority vested in local municipalities, and it generally does not address in detail those planning matters that are most appropriately dealt with locally. In 2020, policy or special project work that was countywide but has municipal benefits includes the completion of a review of the county official plan for compliance with provincial changes report, which includes local official plan fact sheets, and the completion of an updated population and housing projections, which includes a municipal forecast. And the county also continues to work on an update to the county official plan. The Southwest Middlesex Official Plan is a comprehensive planning document used in working towards the long-term vision for Southwest Middlesex. The official plan contains policies dealing with issues of provincial, county, and local interest, goals, objectives, and policies to manage and direct physical change, and amendments to the plan require county council approval. Southwest Middlesex Official Plan Update is anticipated to address issues such as additional housing units, ensuring sufficient lands available for development, and again, compliance with the provincial changes. The Southwest Middlesex zoning bylaw document implements the municipality's official plan and provides a legal way of regulating land use and development. A zoning bylaw stipulates exactly how land may be used, where buildings and other structures can be located, the types of buildings that are permitted and how they may be used, and lot sizes and dimensions, parking requirements, building heights, and setbacks. So now I am going to move in discussing different application types. So the first one we have is official plan amendments. So generally, if a use or development proposal is not in conformity with the official plan, an application for an official plan amendment can be made to change the policies and/or schedules. And again, amendments to the plan require adoption by Southwest Middlesex Council and approval by County Council. So for example, on your screen here, you can see a schedule from the Southwest Middlesex official plan that highlights the settlement area of Glencoe. The lands in yellow represent the residential designation. The gray is industrial areas. Orange is commercial. Green is open space, and pink is our downtown core. So zoning bylaw amendments. If a use or development proposal is not allowed in the zoning bylaw, an application for a zoning bylaw amendment can be made to change the zoning. Additionally, the zoning bylaw can also be subject to a minor variance where a proposal doesn't conform exactly to the zoning bylaw, but follows its general intent. And other types of zoning include holding or temporary use. So an example of this is on your screen here. You can see a schedule taken from the Southwest Middlesex zoning bylaw. For example, the R11 zone here on your screen is our residential density 1 zone, which only permits single detached dwellings. So if a property owner was looking to change the form of the dwelling or establish a new one, such as a duplex or a townhouse dwelling, they would have to apply to change their zoning to permit that use. So consent application is the division of land by severance, or consent is a local municipal authority. The authorized separation of a piece of land to form a new lot or a new parcel of land. Rights of way, easements, and any change to an existing property boundary also requires an approval. And so when staff are evaluating consent applications, we evaluate both the severed and retained parcel for zoning conformity in regards to the minimum lot area, minimum lot frontage, and any maintaining the setbacks, for example, on any existing structures. Here on your screen, for example, if this were a severance application, we'd be evaluating the front yard setback, let's say, from the porch to ensure zoning conformity. Subdivision or condominium. The division of land by a plan of subdivision or condominium is a county authority application, and it's used to create multiple lots or units and typically involves more complex servicing and planning issues. And it is a two-step development process, the first being draft plan approval and the second being final plan approval. And here on your screen before you, we have a Southwest Middlesex example that was locally adopted for a draft plan and sits with the county now for approval. So that's very exciting news. Minor variance, so is a process whereby the applicants seek permission to change a provision in the zoning bylaw. The applicants are reviewed against the 4 tests as required by the Planning Act. And a minor variance is not necessarily based on the extent to which the zoning bylaw is varied, but rather it's based on whether the impact of the variance can be considered minor. So for example, when constructing a new dwelling, if there is a requirement for a rear yard setback of 6 meters and the applicant is seeking permission for 4.86 meters, they would require to apply for a minor variance application. Site plan control is a tool used to make sure development applications meet zoning and other standards. It's usually applied to industrial, commercial, and multi-unit residential development. It's not generally used for normal agricultural practices and or single homes. And this includes the design and layout of the buildings and the development, including building location, landscaping, parking, drainage, pedestrian access, etc. And as part of this process, there's a development agreement that is prepared and registered against the title of the property. So now I'm going to move into some of our application numbers that we're seeing. So on the screen before you, you have the application numbers from 2016 until May 31st, 2021. Generally, despite being in a pandemic for most of 2020, Southwest Middlesex had a busy year for planning applications, including the final approval of the Vibrant Plan of Subdivision in Melbourne, as well as receiving a new plan of subdivision, the Adobe Plan of Subdivision in Glencoe. The 2021 numbers represent the first 2 quarters of the year and is anticipated to continue at a steady application rate for the remainder of the year. In 2020, staff received a new plan of subdivision application located on Stella Ave And locally, Southwest Middlesex adopted, as mentioned, Adobe Plan of Subdivision, which is anticipated to receive draft plan approval by the county over the next few months. Overall, there has been an increased amount of residential lot creation applications in comparison to previous years, including residential infill lots and subdivision applications. So the move during the pandemic to increase virtual presence has highlighted the need to provide increased self-service planning information, including website enhancements, interactive zoning mapping, and application brochures. So what you see before you, and I believe what was attached to the agenda for today, staff have been working on creating planning guidelines to assist the public with various Planning Act applications and their processes. They are anticipated to be finalized within the next few weeks, and the goal is to have them both on the local Southwest Middlesex website, as well as have hard copies available in the office. And that is all I have to share with you today, but certainly I am open to have any questions you may have.
Thank you very much, Stephanie. Committee, there's an immense amount of information before you there. Much of it, I'm sure you were already aware of, but there is some real advancements in the terms of marketing development in Southwest Middlesex. And Stephanie, I want to thank you for your participation in that. I think these handouts and information on our website of the expectations and the process to attain development and have it follow procedure is exceptionally important. And this will, I think, really help the public relations aspect of it. Committee, if there's any questions you'd like to forward to Stephanie on planning and the efforts to ease the planning process in Southwest Middlesex, this is the opportune time to ask her, and I'll watch for your hands. Councillor Cal, and followed by, see a shadow here, Phil, yes, okay. Councillor Cal, go ahead, followed by Mr. Modell.
I didn't have a question, thank you.
Oh, didn't you? Oh, I saw your hand up there. Okay, Phil, go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor, and thank you, Stephanie, for the great presentation. I really like the move towards some of the self-serve information that you've been providing, so that's wonderful. And my overall question is related to, well, I guess two things. The planning process timeline. I noticed in some of the documents you mentioned that some of the processes for application would take multiple years. And I'm wondering, A, how do we compare with other jurisdictions? So I guess in a sense, are we competitive when it comes to timing of things? And I guess a related question to that is, with COVID now, things may change quickly in a more different way, perhaps even in a less orderly fashion than good planning principles have suggested in the past. And is there a way that Southwest Middlesex in particular could position ourselves to take advantage of opportunities that may come up quickly over the next 6 to 12 months as COVID hopefully unrolls or goes away?
Thank you. Yeah, so from my understanding, we do process applications quite quickly in comparison to some of the larger cities, for example, that are London or GTA area. In terms of your second question, I think in terms of timelines and COVID playing into it, it really depends. I think staff have done a great job so far in continuing our process with as little disruption as possible. It's actually, there are some benefits we have found through this COVID process that have actually assisted. For example, sometimes when applicants or consultants are out of town, we found it beneficial to have these online meetings where people are actually sometimes easily more available than if they had to travel or coordinate their days for different places.
Okay.
But I think we are in a good position to continue to work and move applications along in the same process we have been.
Thank you, Steph. Phil, that gives you a short synopsis there. Any follow-ups at
Yeah.
all?
Yeah, I think it's just prudent that we as a committee and a municipality keep our eyes open and look for ways to help proponents if something comes up rapidly post-COVID. You know, how can we be flexible, I guess, given the framework that's out there, which is there for lots of good purposes, but sometimes those frameworks don't allow us, if it doesn't allow us to adapt quickly and we lose to another jurisdiction or something, then I guess I'm just suggesting that is there a way we can be alert to that and how we can respond. So.
Jill, I was just going to invite you to speak to the question too. I know Jill is has a lot of involvement in this, and Phil, I'll just leave it to Jill. But don't forget the provinces in this equation too, and sometimes they're not flexible. But Jill, go ahead. Thank you for raising your hand. Oh, you're on mute, Jill, I think.
There we go. That's the phrase of the last year and few months. You're on mute. So yeah, I think that as a county and a region, we have been more nimble than some of our other bigger players. So we've continued to see a fair number of applications and building permits come through. And I think the processes that we've adopted and the service changes that we've made have really helped to facilitate us moving forward even faster. So I think some of it is what Stephanie referred to as well, as we are moving pretty fast. And sometimes the benefit of being smaller is that it is easier to make the change as opposed to a really large center where implementing a new process, say for instance with the building permit process, moving to online, we did that very quickly with a lot of help from our partners that are providing the service through Middlesex Center, but we moved through that really quickly with very little issues. And that was a combination of the service provider, IT who provides our service, the staff from Middlesex Center who were familiar with the process, but then also our staff who were willing to make that change and facilitate that and work with people who had questions. So sometimes it's a little bit easier to make a change here. And even again, with the building permits, there were places that in the confusion with some of the initial provincial orders for what needed to happen, when could happen, what couldn't happen, we were always taking applications and reviewing them and doing inspections, whereas some centers shut that down for many weeks. So I think it's a good question and a good goal to keep in our mind.
Thank you, Jill. Committee, any further questions to Stephanie or Jill? Okay. No, we're trying to make it convenient, and I appreciate the committee's concerns that we service our clients efficiently, and we'll certainly make that attempt to do so. Stephanie, I believe you're off the delegation and presentation list now. You're all through?
Yeah, thanks everyone.
Thank you very much. Okay, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I remind the committee that if there's any of these from A to E, these subjects, if you wish to bring these out and discuss them, it's certainly your privilege to do so. So we can run through that if you'd like. And we'll, if there's anything here you'd like to speak, just raise your hand and we'll either speak to it immediately, or if there's business to do, we can move it into new business. Economic Development Committee minutes of March 4th are before you. I assume there's no errors or additions. Middlesex County Economic Development updates. Information regarding economic development on B. I'll just pause to watch for hands here, committee. And Middlesex County Warden's letter to the Premier. And the last one is SWIFT. They certainly have been very advantageous to municipalities in acquiring funding for fiber optic. The consent agenda items that we have received and presented to the committee are before you. I'll entertain a motion that we receive the consent agenda 5A through 5E. Thank you, Mark. Seconded by Councillor Bartlett. Discussion? All in favor?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I'm sorry, I missed you. Yes, Phil.
That's okay. Just a quick question on the, oh, what's it called here? I'm trying to find it. The economic development update. It says challenges, biggest challenge seems to be time. I'm just wondering, can someone clarify what that means? Whose time is it is being challenged here? Is it the time of members?
I think no one can answer that better than our CAO. She oversees the management of staff and office procedure. Jill, could you speak to that?
Sure. So I would suggest that we do have a limited capacity with staff and resources. So we don't have full-time staff, and I know Sheila works very hard to respond, but it's a part-time position, and it's a position that wears multiple hats. So I think we have been lucky to move forward through so many of those particular priorities and goals, and undertaking many of the activities to get us there. But yep, time is always a challenge, and I would say we get a lot of requests for information from outside interested parties that my experience, that wasn't happening 3 years ago. It's happening now, and we're in a better position to answer some of those questions now than we were 3 years ago, but it takes a lot of time to pull together that information, and that tends to be always the issue, and probably any size government is the time and resources, and there are many functions that municipalities are required to fulfill. Economic development isn't one of them. It's a choice, and it's a great choice, but lots of other things that are mandated to us by the province and the federal government as to what we have to do, and we have to fulfill those mandates as well. So budget, it's a limited budget, and we're really just getting going with what it is that we are doing here with the strategic priorities and the new position and what the activities are, and you'll hear more about the CIP if you tune in to the upcoming council meeting, but we've got a small limited pool of resources to help try and promote economic development within our community, but it's good that council has supported us in this endeavor. I don't know if Sheila, you have any more to add with respect to the time issue?
Not really, other than it seems to be pretty standard across the county. Even if they have a full-time department, they're finding time and funding are both an issue.
Are there any opportunities for students, given COVID? And I see a number of emails from time to time about funding for students, that sort of thing. Is that something we've considered or should consider?
I think I'm allowed to go through the chair. We have submitted grants requests to the federal government for supporting summer students, but it's been primarily recreation services that we've been looking for that.
Thank you, Jill. Yes, and Phil, the subject of economic development is at a higher level than some other entities in our municipality, and we certainly very often need the professionalism of staff to even consider addressing this. Okay, there's a motion on the floor to accept the consent agenda. I'll just pause for a minute if there's any other questions there. Okay, seeing none, I'll again call for hands. All in favor that the consent agenda be adopted? Carried unanimously. And number 6 on the agenda, we're clicking through here, guys. Economic Development Strategic Plan Update and Activities. Staff, go ahead and present this if you wish. Jill, go ahead there whenever you get time. Yep.
I think this will be Sheila.
Oh, this is Sheila. Okay. Yep. I didn't have a note of that. Sheila, go ahead. Yeah, Sheila, go ahead. Present that report on number 6 if you unmute. Give Sheila a moment here. She looks like she's trying to mouse.
Okay, sorry there. I just had a little bit of noise that I had to kind of minimize for a minute. Am I able to share my screen?
Yeah, consult Jill on that. I see a nod coming from her.
Should be able to share.
Okay. Can everybody see the Economic Development Strategic Plan report?
I can. It's on mine, Sheila.
Yes.
Okay, great. So again, this is pretty standard screen that we've got. We started off in 2019 adopting the strategic plan report. And since then, we've been taking a lot of steps towards completing the recommendations within the plan. And again, COVID has affected some of the things that we planned on doing initially, and so we're working on background reports. It's now actually been just over a year since I took this position as of June 1st. That's June 1st, 2020, when I took the contract. So we've done quite a few things in that time, and we've touched on all the top 5 priorities of the plan. And one big one was the communication strategy, and we continue to work on the growth of that program. We've started working on the tourism inventory, and that is going to be one of our major priorities moving forward, building that along with the business directory that will work sort of cohesively with that inventory. And investment readiness coaching has been commenced. We've made quite a few moves forward in this area, where when we first started, we really didn't have the answers for all those requests for information that were coming in. And the requests for information on those investment properties, they can range from a simple question of, do you have land available, to a 5 or 6 page spreadsheet that asks for things as complicated as what provincial tax rates might apply. They might be an international company that's trying to gather as much information as possible through each city or town that they're talking to. So they can be very simple or very complex and can take several days or weeks to complete. And we've had some very interesting ones, and it's been interesting gathering all the materials that we need to have available for these requests. and there's still some room to improve in that area. Certified site has been a priority area as we get many, many requests on this. Right now, we've got 3 fairly large ones that we're dealing with on that one. They're all confidential still at this time, but it's there's a lot of interest out there for lands, and great competition throughout the municipalities, even within our county. It might not be just our county, it could be across the world. So it's very interesting what we receive and what we respond to. So we've really focused during the shutdown on the new website, and it's been a fair amount of work. We've tried to build a site that's a lot easier for the public to use and more interactive so that people can respond or bring questions to us a little easier, to contact us a little easier, and to find information that will help them deal with day-to-day business. So that should be launched in June. In May, we had a preview for the county or for the municipality, and that was May 12th. And that site that we have now, because we don't have our tourism right together yet, our link for tourism is to Middlesex County Tourism, and our economic development area has some improved materials plus a link to the Middlesex County Invest in Middlesex site, which has a vast amount of information. And the community improvement plan is available in draft form on our website right now. I hope everyone's had a chance to look at it. And if you have any comments on it, we'd love to hear that, especially from the business community. We definitely want to hear from them. And so that's scheduled for June 9th. It'll be sometime shortly after 7 when we have that portion of the meeting. And once we have the comments and any that will be incorporated into the plan, we should have them back fairly quickly. And we propose to have the adopting bylaw to council on June 23rd. So the good news with the community improvement plan is that we did receive 50% funding from the county for the consultation on this. So that's always great news to have that support and some extra money. So we do work really closely with the County of Middlesex. The new website was on a contract through the county IT department, and there's actually quite a few municipalities working on it at the present time. I think there's 4 in the group that I'm in. North Middlesex and ourselves are probably to launch this month, and there's 2 others that should launch later in the year. We do work with the tourism department, and the mapping and planning services are a big part of our day-to-day. And as you heard from Stephanie today, we're very busy with planning, and she gave a great overview, but there's many complexities within the planning aspect that would be a little bit too cumbersome to really talk about, but they are also looked at while we look at all these possibilities that come our way. With the CIP primer, it was finalized by the county and used to develop our CIP draft plan. And we received some great comments on the draft CIP from the CFDC commented that it's one of the best ones that they've seen, and it should be easy to put into place as we move forward. We're also going to work with the CFDC and Invest in Middlesex to promote the CIP if it's passed by council, which we anticipate it will be. And that's a good route for us to take because they deal with them on a financial basis. They have the grant money to help those businesses, and they can also let them know that Southwest Middlesex has these other opportunities for them to expand their business or to improve the facade, help with any planning applications, things like that. So we work with the county again to ensure that messages get out mostly through social media and the mayor does a regular report at council that everyone I'm sure has seen. So we try to keep our messages going both ways. So we share with the county, they share with us, and we all try to get our information out to the people. And locally, we continue to enforce property standards across the municipality on a complaint-based system as is currently in place. One of our next projects is getting the branding RFP out, and what is anticipated through the process is a clear definition of our brand, character, brand promise, key brand messages, core values, audience perception, and our competitive position. Following that, a review of our visual brand identity, including design concepts, logos, typography, color palettes, and other products to support the overall brand identity, including a style manual and guidelines that would be used for our core brand applications such as signage, stationery, and other templates. So we have 30,000 committed to this project in 2021. We do anticipate that's on the lower side of things, and right now we are building the RFP so that we can try to ensure that we get the best possible value out of that $30,000 at this time. So it's taken a little longer to pull that together just because we want that to be good money spent. And conveying the relevant messages from the county to the elected senior staff, residents and businesses in Southwest Middlesex so they're informed of what happens at the county level is a priority, with information being shared predominantly through social media and through reports by the mayor at the council meetings. We've already talked about that. Our communication avenues are being better utilized, and we are getting out to a broader audience, and our numbers on our social media sites are greatly increasing. We had one post in the last few weeks that reached over 6,000 people, which was surprising and really a good thing to see. So we communicate back to council on a regular basis, and we just continue to deal with the opportunities that appear. And we look forward to building on our communications program as we move forward. And one of the things that we're looking at right now is an Instagram account to get the word out to the public a little more quickly, especially in the area of recreation. Instagram is one of the more popular ones with the younger group now, and they are the ones who are needing that information quickly. So Southwest Middlesex is growing, and that means a lot of planning and development applications for the municipality to deal with. Staff work with those wishing to develop lands and businesses to achieve the best possible outcome for everyone. And you heard today about all the activities that Stephanie is dealing with, and we just have a lot of activity at the local level, and it's wonderful. It can be overwhelming, but it's really great to know that people are interested in Southwest Middlesex. So we just keep putting the pieces of the puzzle together, and we may not report absolutely everything here, but we are touching on pretty much everything from our strategic plan. And we just think that in a very short time, we should have a good program in place, and we can start really moving forward with a lot of the other aspects that we don't really talk about on a regular basis here. And I guess just to go through, I made up a list of the things that I'm going to be working on, and I think I've covered all of them. My next steps that I'll be working on following the website are the branding RFP, so that's going to take a bit of time. We will always continue with the new website development, and the CIP will be a new thing for us as we move forward with the program. We'll have applications to review and deal with, and that will also involve we're hoping to have a recognition program with that for anyone who does take part in the CIP, and sort of showcase those people who have participated in it. One of the key things I want to get done is building our business list and tourism inventory, and continue with communication aspects as per the plan established in 2020, and to continue to work on our social media and really build a strong program there, especially for our recreation programs. So if anybody has any questions, I can try to answer.
Thank you, Sheila. We'll perhaps go back to full view so we can see the hands if we are done with the slide presentation. That gives me access to the committee.
All right. There.
There, I see everyone's face. Mark, Phil has his hand up. Phil Modal. Go ahead, Phil.
Just a quick, yeah, thank you very much, Sheila. Great presentation. Quick question. If I'm going to suggest to some of my neighbors and other business colleagues to look at the CIP, where on the website should I go? What's a sort of a quick way to describe it to them? Go to the website and look for, just type in CIP, or?
They could, they can go right to the news page and it's on there.
Okay. Great.
But yeah, definitely share this information with the business community, any of your neighbors. I think it's great I think that's really the purpose of the group, is to share the information that we have and get it out there. Especially right now with COVID, it's a little more difficult than it used to be, where we can't just drop in necessarily to somebody's place and say, hey, do you know about? And so this is, if we can network through this committee, that's a really good thing for everyone to do.
Yes, Jill, I see your hand. Go ahead.
I'll quickly share my screen so you can see it. Is that all right?
Yep.
And actually, so Sheila, this is the page Sheila was talking about just under news. So if you go to Southwest Middlesex and you look at news, then there's the newsletter and some census information, pool information, Gypsy Moth, the rec programming survey, the backyard chicken survey, and then the community improvement plan. So the draft CIP is what you would click on there.
Okay. Thank you, Jill, for simplifying that. That's great. Phil, any follow-ups? Okay, any other questions? Please take this opportunity to ask Sheila. Sheila, I'm intrigued with the inquiries that you said you had on the certified industrial sites, and that's great news. And I also respect the confidentiality in it. I know there has been members of council that realize that these inquiries have been forthcoming. And it is a process and a big decision in terms of the people that are making that investment. There's a term we use in business very often referred to as closing. And are there any barriers to getting to third base on this, or getting to home plate, I should say, on this? I know it takes time. There's so much investigation and marketing studies have to be done. So many factors come into play, such as location, proximity to transportation and markets. But is there any element in front of you or barrier that prevents one of these inquiries to becoming closed? Is there any particular stumbling block?
I wouldn't say there's any barriers other than competition. And that's, that's the only thing that really sort of, everybody sells themselves in basically the same way, but it really is dependent on where that business is going to get the best investment out of their money. So they're going to look at many things. We haven't had any barriers as such, like nothing's really stopped anyone from investing at this point, other than they wanted to be closer to, say, 401, or they wanted to be in a city. That's the only thing that I can say.
So it's a free market then, is basically what it boils down to, and the competitive element. Yep. Council or committee last call for questions there. Are there any? I don't see any hands. Well, Sheila, thank you very much for providing that. It was very interesting, and we wish you well in your endeavors. And we know the challenges that you have before you. We are at number 7 on the agenda. Staff, new business items. There were no items removed from the consent agenda. Yep. Yes, Sheila, go ahead.
We'll need a motion on 6A.
We will, you betcha. You have heard that the Economic Development Committee received the strategic plan updates and activities update and the report for information. I'll entertain a mover and a seconder. Councillor McGill, Committee Member Cowell. Any discussion, committee? All in favor? Carried. New business, there was none removed from the consent agenda. Addendum items, I don't believe there's any. Jill, yeah, Sheila, go ahead.
We also have, Brownfield property report.
Oh, yes, we missed that. You bet. I'm sorry about that. Yeah, I got this agenda late, folks. Forgive me. Sheila, you go ahead with that report. That would be great.
Okay, I'll just start very quickly. And it's just a brief report. We just want to let everyone know that staff are looking at the Brownfield property at this time. And Jill may want to add a little bit to this, but we're looking at different opportunities with it. And we'll turn it over to Jill at this time.
Sure. Yeah, so the property we're talking about is the one where the library was going to be located, and then council was brought to their attention that more studies needed to be completed before something could be put there. And so the direction we have from council is to investigate selling it following the studies that they undertook back in 2019. And so we've been looking at different options and trying to get a better sense of some of the other neighboring properties and some of the implications that the zoning and uses have for that, and was waiting for some information for the Ministry of the Environment that I just received yesterday. But we do aim to try to get that more marketed so that we're in a position to maybe offer that and have a use for that property that really suits the community and suits the challenges with the land, because it does have contamination on the land, and just probably the best match for something that's not the highest level of sensitivity required for the land. So I think that we're back on track with that conversation and ready to move that forward in the very near future.
Thank you, Jill. That's very good news. Any questions to Jill regarding those brownfields? Yes, go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I was by there this morning, and I think before they present it to anybody, they should have some sort of a schedule to cut the grass, because it's about 3 or 4 feet high, half grass, half weeds. I think it should be prettied up a little bit.
Okay, we'll pass that on to staff. Yep, thank you, Dennis. Yes, Councillor McGill, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Mayhew. At this point, we cannot tell any prospective buyers what they could use that property for. And I did have an inquiry quite a while ago, and the guy said, well, he was interested, and he mentioned some different things he thought he might be able to use it for, and he wanted to know if he could. And of course, at this point, we didn't do the reports or the studies that would make it so we could tell him what he could use it for. And he says, well, I'm not going to bid on it if I don't know what I can use it for. So I think that's something we have to look at again at council, is might have to spend a bit more money there, and to get somebody to bid on it, he'll have to know what he can use it for, and it would have to be zoned properly for that use too.
No, it all part of the marketing concept, and that information is valuable, and I'm sure staff are going to pursue it.
Yeah, and if I can, Alan?
Yes, go ahead, Jill.
So when council was presented with those options, Mark, the recommendation was from the consultant to have a screening assessment completed, and in order to try to identify the potential use so an additional level less than a record of site condition, but more than more information required before moving forward, even for the current zoned use. And council opted to not pursue that because it was an additional, at that time, $20,000. So if we want to bring that back so that it's more marketable, we can certainly do that.
Okay, those are considerations we'll have to make in the future. I saw some hand movement there. I don't want to miss anyone. Mr. Cowell, did I see your hand up, or were you adjusting your screen there? Okay, and Councillor Cowell, you're okay? Presume so. Okay. Any further questions, council or committee? Seeing none, Sheila will leave Brownfields. Sheila, any last comments on that? You're okay with that?
Yep,
To move from that subject?
we can. And just before
Yeah,
you get
go ahead.
started, I was just going to mention when we move to number 7, if anyone has a report from any of the subcommittees, such as the cleanup program, we could probably welcome them to make a quick report at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, Councillor Cowell, we're at 7. Would you like to speak to that?
Certainly. Our little group of the 3 of us became 5. So we had done a cleanup briefly on Main Street after we had some visitors. And in the spirit of that, we wanted to get started on actually taking some steps forward with our cleanup committee. And we had a meeting on, I think it was Tuesday. I invited the deputy mayor, and the mayor was also there. And we have some tentative plans to aim for a cleanup that will happen on the main street with a focus on the businesses. The week of the 15th of June, we're just pinning down the businesses. So what the plan is that we have been in contact with the health unit about how we can do the cleanup and still meet with the restrictions of COVID. So it sounds like we can have groups of 10. So the first invite is going out to the businesses, and the idea being that the businesses will be cleaning up in front of their own facility, their own buildings, and then we will be cleaning up in front of some of the vacant buildings that don't, or those that don't participate. And we will be inviting the Economic Development Committee to fill in some of those spots because, as I mentioned, we really can only have 10. And then from there, if we don't end up having enough volunteers, we'll reach out to the rest of council. We've been cautioned from the health unit that we should not be making this like a public sort of everybody come out kind of free for all. It really needs to be very well planned and very well organized with social distancing and masking. But again, it doesn't mean we can't accomplish this. So that is the tentative plan. And I'm just hearing back from the businesses to find out what day specifically works for them. And we will follow up with the rest of the committee to see which of you would like to volunteer. We're hoping to do garbage and a little bit of the sweeping and dusting. And we will also be reaching out to see if our staff can support. There's a few areas that have a lot of weeds that need to be sprayed or whipper snipped in a couple of different areas, including the parquet. So the hope will be that we can be a municipal partner in this activity and see how that fits into this, the regular maintenance program that we have for the municipality. And on top of that, any type of additional budget or cost that might come out of the Economic Development Committee themselves. So if anyone has any questions that wasn't already at our committee, go ahead. And I will add that while we have something a little bit more concrete planned for the week of June 15th through 17th, we also have tentatively planned cleaned ups in Wardsville, Appin, and Melbourne as our next steps, so that we make sure we focus on all of the different centers within the municipality. And hopefully with those ones, by then perhaps will be opened up a little bit more and we can make it a little bit more community oriented, have some focusing on the business centers and some focusing in the different parks and whatnot. But we really wanted to get some boots on the ground as soon as we could. So that's why we're doing this focused on the main business drag at this point.
Good. Thank you. Rick, I saw your hand up there. Go ahead.
I just wondered, in conjunction with the cleanup, is there any additional road sweeping plan for the summer? I know that sometimes there was a bit of a cleanup before tartan days, and there is no tartan days, but I just thought, you know, if it was available, it might make the whole process faster.
Yeah. Yes, I agree. And that's a county responsibility, and I will contact Chris. There's generally the third week of July, there's usually a sweeping, Rick. I think that's the one you're referring to. And
Yes.
we'll certainly get on that. Okay. We'll make the inquiries. We'll try to get those out today. Yep. Krista, if in the event you need a truck or a trailer, just let me know and I can bring one for you too. Okay. If you need a trailer and a truck to put this refuge in and stuff, just give me a shout and I'll be on, and date, time, location, I'll be there. But I've got a trailer you can use certainly, and I'll be glad to pull it for you.
We're hoping to do, I think we said 6 o'clock at night. So whatever day we pick, it'll be in the evening after most of the businesses are closed.
And you advise me if you need a trailer, if that'll accommodate you, or anything like 5-gallon pails or stuff like that, or weed whackers or blowers. I think I can get them for you.
Thank you.
Okay. We haven't, Sheila, just out of courtesy to you, I know there is discussions that are supposed to be forthcoming on the BIA. They're on our radar. They haven't fallen off. And I know Mark's on that. And Councillor Bartlett on that. Who's the third person on that BIA? Mark, myself? Yeah, Councillor Bartlett, I thought so. So we'll have to get together. I'd like to, before I meet with the business community, I would like to meet with just the committee members. Just to get some philosophy detailed and how we approach. And we'll have to make sure that we have that coming forth. Is there anything else in announcements? Yeah. Phil, I think you're scratching your head there. You're okay? Yeah. Just an announcement I'd like to make. I don't take much time off, but Linda and I will be away. I'll be absent during that CIP meeting. I don't want anyone to think I've abandoned ship, but I made these arrangements some time ago and I'll have to go. I'm going to go through with that. So I'll be away between the 8th and the 12th. Last call for announcements. Seeing none, committee number 9, future meetings are September 2nd. And so put that on your calendar. And before I adjourn committee, I just want to advise you that we always want staff prepared for the conversations that we bring to the table. And so if there is an issue that a committee member has, and I put this invitation out before and no one's really taken advantage of it. If there is a subject that you would like to discuss, please advise the chair and I'll make sure that staff are aware of it. And we can certainly put it on the agenda. I realize that much of the discussion is relevant to policy, but if there are issues that you would like to bring forward for discussion of this committee, please advise the chair. That allows the chair to handle them better, and of course, staff are better prepared to accommodate your inquiry. So please advise us if there are subjects that you would like to discuss at this meeting. I think Sheila has a meeting at 3 o'clock, so I think we did well, Sheila, to get through that. I want to thank Stephanie again. And committee members, thank you for your presence. I'll adjourn the meeting at 2:37.